everyone. Welcome to Inside Monster Jam, the official Monster Jam podcast. I'm Scott Jordan, and today I'm joined in studio by Monster Jam's Director of Stadium Operations, Scott Olinski. Scott, welcome to Inside Monster Jam.
Thank you, Scott. It's great to be here.
I appreciate you and I go way back to the very beginnings of my career, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of those fun memories. But right now, the focus really has been on World Finals moving to Nashville. As we get into that conversation, you have been someone that started with this company and moved up into now this director role. So talk a little bit about what your role is now with Monster Jam.
Yeah, so as you said, the Director of Stadium Operations. So basically handle any domestic stadium event we do from inception to completion. So work on the budgets, make sure everything's in line there, and then working with the team in place to make sure that the events go off without a hitch.
And you were a tour manager when I started. Where does your career start with Monster Jam?
So started in 2011. As a tour manager, and that was basically just going to the events, once everything was set up and running them, and then coming back or going to the next city and just staying on that path. So definitely a lot more responsibility, but also a lot more fun to be able to sit back and see everybody else how they do the work.
And what were your thoughts when you were told back in 2017 that you were getting this new pit reporter that was a Justin Timberlake impersonator that knew nothing about monster trucks? Any thoughts there? I
had severe hesitation just because I didn't have all of my Justin Timberlake songs brushed up upon. So, but you helped me through that, and look where you are now, Scott.
Listen, I appreciate it. Wouldn't be here without you, my friend. So you oversee every stadium tour. Now, prior to the pandemic, there were 3 stadium tours, and now there are 2. Are there any, hopes or dreams of maybe one day going back to having 3 full stadium tours?
I don't know. I think with the way that the World Finals has gone and kind of pushed it back from March to May and then now July, it really opens up the time frame for those 2 stadium tours to have more events, which I like. I like the point season to be longer and let it play out. It's when you have 6, 7, 8 events only, it doesn't give a lot of time for things to fluctuate and change. But now having 5 months, 6 months worth of points paying events really allows those trucks and drivers to compete for it.
Well, we've done many events in July and in Nashville in June as well on the POD tours, and I think maybe initial thought is that getting away from the heat in Vegas and the heat in Orlando might be a little more comfortable in Nashville, but it's brutally hot there in the summer, so we're all in for the same weather conditions, obviously just a different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's summer. You really can't go wrong.
Well, let's talk about the decision, first of all, to move it to Nashville. What are the challenges when you move World Finals from city to city? So we go from Las Vegas to Orlando, and now Orlando to Nashville. What does that process entail from moving the event from one city to another?
I think it's a double-edged sword, because having the World Finals in Las Vegas for so long, for 19 years, kind of allowed us to create a blueprint that we were able to follow every year. But along with that, it kind of grew stagnant because we knew what worked, so we did it the same every year. Moving to Orlando first was a whole new set of challenges, which really were constant from the day World Finals 19 ended till the day we got on site for World Finals 20. And it's just learning those nuances with the venues wherever we decide to go, and then kind of playing to their strengths and working through the weaknesses to make sure that we're putting on the best event possible for the fans.
Well, when it came down to the selection process for World Finals, there's always a big deal with, where the Super Bowl is going, where WrestleMania is going. And with Monster Jam, as you mentioned, we have the luxury of having World Finals in the same city for so long in Las Vegas, and we go to Orlando. Were there any other cities involved in that initial process when it came down to where do we go after Orlando?
Yeah, I think every city that we play is on the table, and we narrow that down from the 35 stadiums that we go to 15 to 10 to 5, and then kind of look through there and what works in the time frame, because with football right around the corner or these other events that they have, kind of see what works for both parties. And
obviously Nashville is a very Monster Jam entrenched city, because we run Bridgestone there, we run Nissan Stadium, so obviously that may have had something to do with the fact that we're comfortable and stable there. We already have a built-in audience. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Nissan Stadium is a great partner with us. Love everybody that's there. They're always very welcoming whenever we come in for the June event. So it's kind of a no-brainer to be able to bring our biggest event into Nashville.
So we get, through the pandemic, and we run Arlington and come back and start, planning the Stadium Championship Series for 2021. We knew at some point we were going back to Orlando for World Finals. When does the conversation start? Where do we go next? Like where is 2023 happen? When does that start?
Like Jamie Dulcing had said when you had him on, it was a 2-year deal that we had with Orlando. So we got through 2019, and then unfortunately with the pandemic kind of pushed that back a year. So ended up going to Orlando, and then, that whole last year was kind of playing the field and seeing, do we branch out? Do we stay another year in Orlando? And I think, we had really wanted to make this a traveling premier event, like WrestleMania or the Super Bowl to an extent. And I think it was time to bring it somewhere new, with the intention that we know how Orlando works now, and, we can always be coming back in the future.
Well, and when you look at the 3 cities, that will host World Finals after next year, Las Vegas is a premier entertainment destination. It's more geared towards adult entertainment, with the hotels and casinos and everything. And Orlando is a family destination with all the theme parks. Nashville, I think now is really starting to find its footing as to what it wants to be. It started out as just this country music capital of the world. A lot of bars and country music clubs, and you go there for live music. Now it really is a place you can take your kids. Last time we were there, I took my kids to the zoo. We had a great weekend there. There's a lot of things for families to do. So is that something that comes into play when a World Final City is selected, as to how obviously we want our fans to be at the Monster Jam events, but how can they also capitalize on the setting and where we're at?
Absolutely. That's another key component to where we ultimately select the World Finals to be. We want the fans to have a great time for the weekend. It's obviously, like you said, coming out to spend most of their time with Monster Jam. But, in that off time, Orlando, you go to Disney, go to Universal. In Vegas, there's things to do for families. But, yeah, Nashville, like you said, is up and coming. It's really a new entertainment mecca. I mean, a lot of people call it Nash Vegas because it's Las Vegas light.
And it's a big sports town now. You have the Nashville Predators there right on Broadway, which is, to me, it's one of the most centralized arenas that you can find in sports. And Nissan Stadium right across that little river there, home of the Titans. So really, to me, Nashville not only is a music capital of the world and entertainment, but it is a major sports town. And those fans take their sports, they don't take it lightly. They're diehard fans. And we always get a huge crowd when we do a Monster Jam there. And it's the same with Supercross when they go there, and, when you have any other events. So to be able to combine the entertainment aspect plus the rabid fan base, that's got to be literally like a hotbed of what Monster Jam wants.
Absolutely. It's diehard fans through and through, going to Bridgestone and just seeing the history that they have in that stadium through their fan base. And as we're setting up throughout the week, the amount of people that come through their team store, and same with Nissan Stadium, that's just constant movement. So they are very diehard fans, and it's great to see them coming back year after year when we do go.
Let's talk about the decision to make all 4 competitions in the same day. So we're going back to old school World Finals, but back then it was 2 in one day. Now we're doing 4. What went into that decision, and what do you think are the positives there to do all 4 on the same day?
There's a lot of positives, with it being a holiday weekend, right off the bat, getting it all in one day helps people that maybe can't spend the entire weekend there. Getting all 4 competitions in one day really kind of adds a new element to the driver's mindset. And I can't just go out and crash in racing. I have to be smart about it to be able to make freestyle. And the same for whoever selected in skills and high jump. So it's a big mental mind game there to be able to make sure that they can last the entire day.
So as far as, you have 2 competitions basically during the pit party that's going on. So will that affect the pit party as all? Because World Finals, I know it's part of the package. Everybody looks forward to it. It's the biggest pit party of the year. There's a lot of activations going on, a lot more drivers than they could ever meet anywhere else. But yet you have 2 competitions inside the stadium. So how is that setup going to work?
It's really great. It's having a Monster Jam competition is something that we've always wanted to do in the World Finals pit party, and due to space limitations or constraints, we haven't been able to really achieve that. Vegas was basically a parking lot in the Star Nursery field, and you can't have a Monster Jam competition there because with putting safety barriers up, then fans can't see. Orlando was a little bit closer to being able to potentially do something inside, but truck movement was a big issue there. So now with Nashville, we're able to have the pit party, but then also create a chute for trucks to be able to get in and out. So fans will be able to see those trucks that are both competing and then in pit party. And it's really the ultimate entertainment zone, because if you think about it, you have two competitions that you're bringing now during pit party. So, if you're tired of walking around, the Nashville asphalt, getting all your driver autographs, you come sit down in the stadium and watch some great competition.
And then they can just go back and forth, right? And
exactly.
Stand with that ticket. Okay. So when does your preparation start? And what I mean by that, obviously, I know you're planning the event, prior to the announcement. But when do you start really zoning in on World Finals? Is it something that will, wait till after first quarter is over? Or is it something that you literally are still working on an ongoing basis?
It is honestly a continuous loop. With World Finals 19, when that ended, I think I had a week off before I started on Orlando and that big move. And it really all comes down to what we end up doing and how much process goes into that. With World Finals 20 and the elevated start, that was something that had never been done with Monster Jam before. So kind of understanding the intricacies of how that worked, and working with the venue and working with structural engineers, it was a process that just kept going. And I don't think that, at that time I was 33, I had never been in Orlando that much in my life than I was that year. I'm just constantly going to the venue and working with them and walking through plans and site visits, just to make sure that we were putting the best foot forward for the events.
So as far as the event itself goes, the two competitions of the day, the two-wheel skills challenge and the high jump will be in the afternoon, but then you go back to racing and freestyle in the evening. Again, the old school Vegas feel, which I think will make historic fans of the sport really happy. But what does the track turnaround look like? Between resetting the racing track into freestyle, how is that going to work?
So there's that little brief halftime that we'll have between racing and freestyle for them to kind of change over a couple things. And I think that our track construction team has gotten so great at working miracles and kind of doing a little bit of different things every time. So, before, when we used to have the 2-day event, they made those elongated race lanes, which was essentially hiding dirt to be able to change a track over for freestyle. Obviously, we don't have, 24 hours to change a track over. So it's kind of going to be, working into what we can build on the outsides that wouldn't affect the racing, but then also being able to play a factor into freestyle and what we could change or quickly shape differently to make that competition different from what they're seeing in racing.
So during the event itself, and let's go back to Orlando this past year. What is your day-to-day role in that event? Obviously, you're not the specific tour manager. You're overseeing everybody. So is your hand literally in every single aspect of that event? Are you just managing everybody else? What do you do during the World Finals?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, my hand's in a little bit of everything. So every department has its own lead. At the end of the day, we all come together and kind of see the progress that everybody's making. But from there, it's, checking in with our director of pit party and seeing how she's progressing through the day, checking in with fleet and see how the trucks are coming along, making sure everything's there. And then, it's maintaining that constant communication with the venue, upcoming weather, working with marketing on ticket sales and seeing how that goes. So it's 23 hours of the day of constant worrying and checking in with people to make sure that everything's on time and on schedule for that weekend.
And with the decision to move it to Nashville, in the middle of the summer, you said holiday weekend. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people there. Nashville, I've been to Nashville the 4th of July weekend, and there's a lot of country music festivals going on. Are you hoping to tie into, that country music community and get some of those fans over to the event?
Yeah, absolutely. The country music community is great. I got my start in country radio. So, love to get that nod whenever we can. But, we have a lot of great country musicians that are big fans of Monster Jam. So, we're hoping that they're going to want to come out as well. They come out to a lot of the arena events, and stadium in the summer is a little bit trickier because, they have their tours. But I think there's some interest already from a handful of them. So we look forward to them coming out and celebrating World Finals 22 with us.
So I mentioned the pit party, and it's a huge part of that weekend, and we build it up as such as it should be. It's literally the largest collection of Monster Jam superstars you can find, and we have so many different things from the RC World Finals of freestyle motocross to the different competitions that are going on. Are there any plans to expand the pit party through Nashville, or can we kind of expect what we had in Orlando last year?
Yeah, I think we're always looking to elevate our pit party game, and you get to the point where you get so big that you have to think, what else can you do? What can we do differently? And I think that starts with the competitions, bringing those earlier into the day in pit party. Like I said, the biggest entertainment zone that we've ever had. So from there, and then kind of seeing what else we can do with the space provided. So looking forward to having, all of the trucks on tour there, and really kind of fine tuning those details as we get closer to the event.
And it's basically, from an operations standpoint, an all hands on deck event. Everybody that works for the company, generally is there. It's the best of the best, literally, busting their butts to make this thing happen. So, I know the fans show up on Friday for qualifying, and then they leave on Sunday. But for you, from an operations standpoint, you're there, early on in the week, and everybody else is there early on in the week. So how much prep time would you say from the time you land in Nashville goes into what the fans see on Friday and Saturday?
Yeah, so we're usually there 2 weeks prior to the event. Any normal event that we run during the year, we typically come in Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday. And you have those few setup days with your event Saturday, Sunday, and then we're loading out and gone by Monday. World Finals, whole different ball game. So we're starting Monday the week prior, kind of laying out pit party, laying out all of our parking lots, where we're putting the pits, where we're putting staff parking, and then it just slowly compounds from there. Each day gets a little more intense and a little more intense, to the point where, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have drivers arriving. You're going through drivers meetings. You're going through practice, so all the drivers can get a feel of the track, and then qualifying, which is new again this year, bringing it back for fans to come see. And
I want to talk about that because there's something different this year for qualifying. Last year we opened it up to the public to come back, and we called it live on YouTube, I believe, a live stream. But this year there's like a meet and greet kind of deal going on, right? Is that something? Greet and eat. That's it. Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. What is that experience?
Yeah, it's basically almost an extension of Double Down. So it's kind of an intimate setting for fans to purchase. It's a pit party that they'll be able to come, get their autographs from drivers. So, maybe if skills and high jump is something that they really want to see on Saturday, they come on Friday to start checking some of those drivers off the list. But you come get those autographs. We're going to have the driver draw again, which, for the past couple years, we've done it following practice. So it's been all internal. The drivers have drawn their qualifying positions and then gone right into qualifying. Before with the Double Down, they kind of did it in person, and they got to see, the fans that were there got to see us build that qualifying bracket. So they'll have that, and then they'll actually see the qualifying event, and then, of course, meeting all their favorite competitors.
And then we have the actual event on Saturday with the pit party. Then let's move on to Sunday. So it's a little different setup this year because in Orlando we had the award ceremony and the bowling tournament was on Friday. And now this year, or coming up next year, it'll be Sunday. I know we haven't announced the charity event. Obviously, St. Jude, a huge partner with us right down the road in Memphis. I assume they would be involved in that. But talk a little bit about the decision to move those events, the award ceremony and the charity event, to Sunday.
Yeah, I think internally in the office it was a struggle because there's points to be made for both sides of whether you put it before the event or after the event. Before the event kind of kicks off the weekend, but having it after the event kind of really allows us to acknowledge the champions that we just crowned the night prior and really put a bow on the weekend. What we learned from this past year at the charity event was it was a great event and the drivers really had fun, but feel like they weren't able to let their hair down, because they had competition on the brain. But now, everything's done, out of the way, so they'll be able to really have a good time with that. And then the award ceremony is really just, acknowledge and award all of the drivers for a great season.
Now, will I be able to open the show with a song and dance again?
I'm going to have to approve what song you sing this year, but it was quite the sight, Scott.
It's it's Nashville, so obviously it'd be a little country music. But that is only for fans that are inside the arena. That is not available on the live streams. If you want to see that, you need to be inside the award ceremony. So you get five series champions that go to World Finals, and then the rest of the field is selected, throughout an extensive process. I don't want to get too much into what goes into that, but obviously you're looking for, the best of the best of the best that compete. You want this to be a superstar studded event, as Kay Young likes to say, superstar studded. I love that when she refers to that. You want the best competitors that you can find to make up this field, because that's what the fans want to see. And in years past, I think it has been that, and I assume that that's going to continue through Nashville, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, having the points paying events really helps kind of see how drivers are progressing throughout the year, and really seeing what the best competition can bring.
So with World Finals being in Nashville, does that, exclude the city from, I think Bridgestone is on the schedule for next year, but does it exclude Nissan from having another event, or will it just be exclusive to World Finals?
I think for next year it'll be exclusive to World Finals, because it's basically around the same time that we would have been there, right, for the stadium date. So we'll have Bridgestone in January, and then the next time we'll be there is July for World Finals. So
let's look ahead past 2023. Is Orlando, we had a 2-year deal. Is Nashville on the radar to host another World Finals, or will it end up, evolving into a rotating city on a per year basis?
Yeah, like we said earlier, every city's on the table. So it's not necessarily a 2-year deal, but, seeing how everything goes, could potentially do it again in 2024. But, I think at the end of the day, you have to keep everything on the table and all your options open, because you never know what you can get next with another venue.
So what does your schedule look like for 2023 as we kick off 5 tours again? You have 2 stadiums. Will you be kind of revolving between the 2 tours, as well as still looking into World Finals, or you just kind of get some time to sit back and focus on that? I'm curious as to now that you back up in the director position and not managing a tour specifically, what you will do for next year.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I started penciling out my schedule for 2023, and it's bouncing back and forth between Stadium Tour Red and Stadium Tour Blue, and then any time that I'm not on the road, it's definitely working on World Finals. Actually headed up to Nashville next week to go meet with the venue and kind of finalize some first round of plans, but then making sure I get over there a couple times throughout the season as we get closer and closer to that event.
And how is the venue to work with? When obviously we have extensive history there, but when it comes to putting on our premier event, how are they to work with?
They're great. They actually came out to Orlando to kind of see the World Finals in action, and they had a blast. So, we walked through with them, kind of our thought process on everything Orlando specific. And then when we were just there for the June event, kind of walked through them in initial thoughts that we had for the World Finals. And, they kind of were wide-eyed a little bit, because they're used to the standard
right
Monster Jam event that we bring. But then, they're definitely excited about next year.
If you could tell the fans anything about expectations for World Finals in Nashville, because I know when the announcement was made, a lot of talk on social media was pure excitement, just because I think when it moved to Vegas, it took a while for people to get into that. Okay, well, here it's been here for its entire existence. Now we're going to Orlando. I think the second year in Orlando was better than the first. Now everybody is used to the fact that we're moving. So when Nashville came out, I think everybody was initially really excited about it. So anything you could tell the fans as far as expectations from what to expect at World Finals at Nissan Stadium?
Yeah, I think you always have to kind of expect the unexpected almost. We have to, like I said, play to our strengths with the stadiums and looking there at what we can do and what we can bring different than previously. With Vegas, it was the consistent Thunder Alley, which was always great. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Sam Boyd Stadium. But, with football moving into their Allegiant Stadium, kind of close the doors with Sam Boyd. So when one door closes, another opens. We had Orlando, and we were able to bring in the elevated start for the first time, the over-under for the first time in Monster Jam. So kind of just always looking to see what's next and what's new to excite the fans.
There's so much to do in Nashville, and Friday night qualifying, you go out and watch qualifying, then Hattie B's comes into play,
Hattie B's,
and then
absolutely.
Alan Jackson's karaoke comes into play, which we have I butchered In Sync and Rick Astley and Whitesnake there, many times. So it's an entertainment destination, and you're bound to find somebody having fun somewhere.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to sell tickets to that. You sing Rick Astley, I'll sing Shameless, and
I think that's a double bill anybody wants to see. So we do have some fan questions to get to, and most of the fan questions involved, the track for next year. Everybody wants to know what is coming to play, because you mentioned we did the ramp coming into the stadium, and we did the over-under, so everybody kind of expects, how do you top that? And is there any pressure for you going into this to really top what we've done in the past? Because what we've done the last 2 years has been spectacular.
Absolutely. I think there's always the pressure on us, and we never want to be stagnant and complacent. So it's always looking to see what we can do to elevate the game and, elevate the event as a whole. So a lot of pressure, and, I love listening to the fans, love being out there, and just if they catch you in the pit party, bend your ear for a couple minutes. So kind of taking that and then bringing that back to the office and being like, okay, well, this is what the fans want. So is there anything we can do to make that happen?
You have to kind of try to find that line, because, obviously sometimes what the fans want isn't always what's best for what, operations need and what's best for the company, but there are some good ideas out there. Absolutely. And we always do need to listen to the fans and try to incorporate some of that. So I appreciate you saying that. So let's talk about, some of these questions here. We got like 20 questions for you, and, 16 of them were about the track. And listen, folks, we're not going to dive into what the track's going to be. Okay. That's going to come later on throughout the year. But, this guy, Xander DP, God bless him, he's looked at the seating chart already in Nashville, so he has some ideas and kind of asking about the approach. Again, we're going to stay away from that right now, but there's some information out there that may kind of give away to what you're trying to do. So do you hear any of that chatter that's out there from what the fans are saying, as far as, well, I think they're going to do this and I think they're going to do that, and how close that might be to what you're actually doing?
Yeah, I absolutely love how dedicated the fans are. Growing up, it was something I would always do, and I think that I'm one of those, not fun at parties, because when Mike Mosier and I ever go out to a concert, the first thing we do is check the set list to see what they're going to be singing. So I definitely admire the dedication and kind of try to peek behind the curtain and see what we plan on doing. So it's just, like you said, don't want to unveil anything yet, but always looking to see where we can do to top what we've done last time.
Well, and we will have some updates to the Driver Summit in November. We're going to bring back the weekly update. That's an exclusive announcement, folks. The weekly update is coming back for 5 special episodes. One of them will involve World Finals, so maybe some information. And maybe you can just come back on and co-host a weekly update with me.
Let me know.
Okay, that sounds good. So let's get to some other fan questions here. Caden Allen 7 wants to know what makes Nashville the perfect location for World Finals in 2023.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Hattie B's, right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Seriously though, it's a big entertainment capital, and I think you have that party atmosphere 24/7, which I hope translates to high energy in the event. But between that, you have pretty good space to be able to kind of expand a little bit with the pit party and internally with logistics. So it really is a great location for us to be.
And this is what makes Nashville different. So when we were at Vegas at Sam Boyd Stadium, Sam Boyd was in the middle of nowhere in the desert. You had to drive there. Orlando Camping World Stadium, close to downtown Orlando, but not in that area, so you still had to get an Uber drive. Literally, when you go to a Nashville event, whether it's Bridgestone or Nissan, and obviously Bridgestone a little closer, but Nissan, you can walk a couple blocks away and be right in the center of Broadway and literally have a great time at the event, go have some great food, go to a great club, hear some great music. So I think that is a new element next year that will come into play, that you don't need to take an Uber, you don't need to get a rental car, you can literally walk from the venue to the center of town and experience that. And I think that will help elevate what some of our fans see.
Absolutely. Close to everything. It's great all around.
All right, Monster Jam King 29. What is the schedule for World Finals, which has been announced on the website, and what will the track layout be like for all 4 competitions being held on the same day? We've touched on it a little bit. I asked about the transition between racing and freestyle, but we do have 2 other competitions during the afternoon. So after those competitions are done, will the track crew spend the rest of that time readjusting the track for racing?
Absolutely. With how things were intended this year with racing and 2-wheel skills on the same day, you kind of have to plan the track according to racing to make sure that everything's in line and not in the way of the race course. Having it earlier in the day, we could bring out additional obstacles that are specific to two-wheel skill. And likewise with high jump, we have the kicker ramps to help elevate for that competition. And then usually right after high jump, we backfilled those so we didn't send anybody to the moon in freestyle. Yeah. Now being able to remove that once that competition's over, we could kind of change up some angles and the elevations of that and then really focus on the track for racing and freestyle.
Oh, I mean, that sounds amazing. And obviously it's a stadium with a huge football team there, the Tennessee Titans. I'm just curious, and this is maybe just a random NFL fanboy question, but do you have to go through the team at all to put this event on? Is it strictly just stadium operations that we deal with? Because Orlando doesn't have a home team there. Sam Boyd Stadium was UNLV, not a pro team, a college team at one point. But in this particular instance, we're doing World Finals at a stadium where a professional NFL team calls home. Do you have to go through that team at all?
So it's basically just through stadium operations on their side, but internally they filter everything through to make sure that what we want to do is okay by them.
Awesome. Well, that's good. So with the Driver Summit coming up in November, what will your involvement be with that? Will you be around to, kind of, again, manage all the different stadium tours you have going on? Will you get involved with the arena groups as well? Will you be kind of floating, throughout the entire building? Or will you just be here with me hosting these podcasts with me? Because
I have a little bit of time I could carve out to host with you, but yeah, just kind of to hopping around. We have media day with the drivers, so making sure that they're getting updated headshots and everything. So kind of making sure they're all in line. We have the AV and host workshop where they kind of to fine tune their team for the next season, working a lot on that. And then just making sure that the team collectively is ready to go for a great 2023 season.
All right, well, listen, we should plan a Disney on Ice family date, because we had that for those of you. We found each other Disney on Ice in Tampa, and Mr. Olinski was nice enough. We were up in the second level, and you were down in the first level, and you messaged me with my 3 kids there. You messaged me and said, hey, there's seats down here, and I told them that you were Elsa, and that Princess Elsa had or Queen Elsa, I guess, had given us seats down front. And my kids, when they saw you, said you didn't look like Elsa. And I said, no, you're Elsa. So if my kids think you're Queen Elsa, man.
Definitely felt like it. It was very chilly there.
No, we had a great time. Well, Scott, thank you so much. For you fans, again, please keep involved at Scott Jordan MJSX on Instagram. Please make sure you download our shows, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can watch us on monsterjam.com and YouTube as well. And I will see you here around the office, and I'm sure we'll have some fun stuff going on at Summit, man. But thank you. It's been fun.
Absolutely. It was a blast.
It's like a full circle moment. First tour with you, and now here you are on my show. Just look at that.
No phalanges, though.
No phalanges. No fun. We'll get into that on another episode. This has been Inside Monster Jam, guys. I'll see you next time. Thank you.